record. Now let's see how to update our model. How do you update your model? Of course, sometimes as you are working, maybe you are working on a student just like in our case, and as you continue building your application, you realize there's a need to add to get the student, maybe you need the student's contact details. So, and earlier on you did not plan to have it, but you have definitely defined your model, and there's a need for you to update the model in terms of, okay, I need this one more model, I need this one more feed or details as part of the details I'll be getting from my user. Then you should not just start afresh again by defining a new model. You can just update the model. So now let's see how to update our model. It's just adding the details you want to add. Maybe even if it's to remove the details, you can remove it. Once you remove it, all you just need to do is just commit your changes to the database by making migration. After making the migration, it will then create the migration file for you, and after the migration file has been created, you check to confirm that, okay, this is what I want to commit to my database. It's just like giving you, are you sure you want to do this, and you just confirm and be sure that, okay, this is what I want to update or add to my database. And once you have seen it, once you have confirmed it, you then go ahead to migrate, and that is to say you are saving the changes or committing the changes to your database. Now let's see how to add feed, remove feed. Of course, we might not want to remove feed. Of course, it's the same thing, removing feed. So now let's see how to add feed. Let's just see, okay, we have our first name, we have our last name. Let's say you want to get the student phone number. So of course, the same way we're able to get the details previously, that's the same method we use. We just go the way of models dot, of course, a phone number. You don't expect the phone number to be an alphabet. A phone number or contact details will definitely be a number. So you should know that the model will not be a character feed, it will rather be an integer feed. Of course, if you do not define the maximum length, it will take the default 254 characters that Django will add to it. Now that we have added our phone, we have seen character feed in action, we have seen integer feed in action, we have seen email feed in action. So let's see one more feed in action, and that is the boolean feed. And boolean is just true or false, either true or false. So it's not in any way complicated. So to take the boolean feed, let's just ask if is active. Of course, you can, let's just, since you are working with a school, so let's just say is registered, which is either true or false. It's either the student is registered or not registered. So go to models dot boolean feed, and now let's look at one more type of feed, and that is the date feed. So the date feed, let's say the uh, date joined, like the registration date or the date that the student joined the coding school academy. So let's say the date joined, the date that the student joined the school. And of course, we don't expect this to be a character because it's dates, and we don't also expect it to be an integer because it's dates. So the model type that we are going to be using here is the date is the date feed. So now that we have updated our model, of course, the database is not aware of these changes you are making. You are just making it in the front end of your application. But now, yes, now that we have been able to update the model, so what is now the next thing to do? The next thing to do is just for you to say, okay, you should save it. After you have saved it, you then make your migration again. So even if you make any mistake while creating your model and you ended up making migrating it and adding to the database, and you feel, "Oh, this is not right," and the likes, just remove the feed that you don't want, make migration again, and and commit to the database by migrating. So there's no limitation in terms of the number of migrations that you can make. You can make as many migrations as possible. So now that we have updated our model, now let's make the migration commit to the database by migrating. So now Let's close our shell. I told you to close your shell, you just go the exist. And once you close your shell, make sure that the virtual environment is still active. So now let's just clean this our terminal. Let's clean our terminal. Let me increase this a bit. Now let's now go the way of py. Of course you can do python, but just to make things faster you can just do py manage dot py, and we then say make migrations. You should make migrations before you migrate. So once you make migrations, now notice something here, because you already have some data in the database, you already have some record in that same uh, database table that you are updating the model. Now it's now asking you two questions now, that okay, the new fields that you are creating, what should be their default value? Because the new field will not just apply to the new record that you'll be adding, it will also apply to the existing record in the database. So now the question now is, for the existing record, what should be their default value? Should they, but is Python is giving you two options of, okay, will you provide a one-off default now? Like, okay, you want to give it a one-off default, like all the existing record in the database, just for the field that I'm adding now, for the field that I'm updating now, just give them a default value of this. Or you want to quit and manually define a default value in the model dot py. Now the best way to do it, because now if you say you want to give it a default value, you want to say you want to give it a default value, that means, if let's say I say the default value is 1, that means that 1 will be applied to phone, to is registered and date joined for the two fields, which might not make too much meaning when you are going through your record. So it's just better you just quit and now go to your database and go to your model again and define the default value. So we are going to be doing that together and we'll be seeing how it works. So now let's just quit for now. We go to the second option. We are not providing a one of default now, rather we want to quit and manually define a default value for the models.py. Now to define your default value, just come back to your model file that you have created. Don't forget that these are the three feeds that we are adding now. So the three feeds that we're adding now, we want to create some default value. Now to create some default value, you can just either say the feed can be none. So if the feed can be none, automatically the database will recognize that the existing file should be empty, or the existing record should be empty. But if the feed cannot be none, automatically you need to provide a default value. Now let's just make the phone number feed to be none for now. Let's make the phone number feed to be none, and also the is registered. You just say none. None is just nothing or no value. So now for the, okay, I just make this is registered. Let me make date join 2 to be none. Now because automatically for the existing records in the database, let's just say they are all not registered. So that means the registration is registered will be false, and if they are registered is registered will be true. So let's set a default value of that too. So to set the default value, you just go default, and you set it to false. That means all existing record in the database, we are setting their is registered feed to be false. That means they are all not registered. Now, so two ways to go, or two avenue you can use to resolve this issue we are having in terms of updating our model. And that is, the first thing is either you make the feed to be nullable. That means you make the feed to exist as nothing. That means it can be empty. Or you set a default value, and we have seen how to do the two methods. So if you want to make it to be nullable or to accept nothing as a value, you go none to be true. And if you want to set a default value, you then set default to be false. That means for the existing record, or if it end up not passing a value for this particular feed, then the value will be default, which is the false that we have set. Now that we have resolved that issue, now let's now try and come to our terminal now and commit and create our migration. So let's just create the now. When you're working on the terminal, sometimes you have typed a very long command and it ended up giving you an error or it's not going through just like we did the other time, and you want to bring back the command. All you just need to do is just press the up arrow of your keyboard to bring back the command instead of it having to type it again and again. So just press the up arrow to bring back the previous command that you run in the terminal. And even if you want to get the maybe previous two or previous three commands, all you just need to do is just press the up arrow several times and it take you to the all the previous commands that you have entered into the terminal. And if you want to bring it back again, just like you were using up arrow to take you to the previous one, to go to the next one, just press the down arrow. It will also take you to the next one. So now that we are been able to resolve our issue, let's try to make our migrations again and let's see if it will work out this time around. So now we can see that it does not give us any error, rather it is telling us that to the feed to the model student we have been able to add feed date joined, we have been able to add is registered, and we have been able to add feed phone. Now let's confirm. Of course, I told you that when you make migration it will create a file inside this folder migrations so that you'll be able to double check. Of course, if you are sure of what you are doing, you can just after making migration just migrate. But if you are still if you still want to be sure of, or if you want to give it a second look, it's better you just come to this migration folder under the application you are working on. Open it, there's a migrations folder. Open the migrations, it will tell you the migrate, it will create a migration file for the model that you're updating. So you can see now that it's telling you that for the operation you're performing is you're adding, maybe okay, you mistakenly add feed model. Sorry, maybe you mistakenly add feed maybe you mistakenly have feed date joined. Oh, and you are able to give it a second look and you come and check it here and you realize, oh no, I don't want to do that. Then you just go back to your model, erase that feed, make migration again, come and check again if you want to still give it a second look. Once you are good with it, then you update it or you commit it to your database by running the migrate. Now you can see that we are adding feed date join, we are adding feed is registered, and we are adding feed phone, which is definitely what we want to achieve or the mission we want to achieve. Now that we have that, what you just need to do is now, once you are good with your migration, next thing is just for you to commit it to database. And to commit it to database, you just instead of it to now that you have made the migration, you then migrate. So by saying Python manage .py and you migrate. So now you see that the migration now is not as voluminous as the one we run the first time we run our migration, because the migration that comes or the migrations that come with Django, ship with Django, automatically we have been able to migrate it to our database when we run the first time we run our Python manage.migrate. Now that is the second one. This one is just like an update. So it will just update the database. So it will not run all the previous one that we have omitted previously. So now let's confirm the changes that we have made from our database. So just refresh the database that we are refresh database. And now if you look at our feed now, of course this is student management underscore student, that's under student management application, a database table called student. Now before it was only ID, first name, last name, age and email, but now you can see that it has added feed date join, and we say that one is non-able. You can see that it's none for the existing record, and it has also added feed is registered, and we set that to false by default, which is why it is taking 0. So false is 0 while true is 1. So we also added feed phone. Phone we said it can be non-label, that means it can be empty, and that is why it is taking this value none.